All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 289 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. Today I'm joined by Daniel, Ken,
hello,
and Mark. Good to see you guys. We've had a couple of weeks that we haven't done shows recently, which feels very strange. But you know what? It makes up for the weeks where we put multiple episodes out, so it all balances out in the end. And you do know something? There are other podcasts to listen to as well. So,
yep.
Top news this week will be Australia is burning. And two of us are Californians, and we know what it's like, and it is hell on earth. And at least when our state was on fire, it wasn't 114 degrees. I think 46 degrees Celsius is bloody hot. So, you know, we want to give our thoughts and support to all our friends in Australia. The Aussie and Worldwide Kiss Collectors Facebook group is doing a bunch of fundraising. If anyone is interested in donating, you can donate straight up. You can enter raffles to win stuff. You'll have to pay postage, obviously, but you know, that's probably the best place to find charities in Australia that are going to give the majority of your money to those who need it and those resources that need it. So go and check out, you know, the Aussie and Worldwide Kiss Collectors Facebook group. Apart from that, they're a great bunch of people, passionate collectors who are fun to hang out with. And if you ever get to meet some of these people, it's in your interest to do so. They're awesome. So good job to Phil and everyone who's a part of trying to do as much as they can for a positive cause. Other news, and this will be the giveaway this week. I'm doing another updated edition of this monstrosity.
Wow.
This year, unreleased.
Beautiful.
74. This will be out on January the 17th. Hardcover this year. It brings you straight up to date through the end of 2019. Corrections, of course. Additions throughout. I think there's 1,159 or something stupid amount of reviews now in there. That's the one proof copy. We'll give that away. January the 15th at noon, I'll do the drawing. Just email me at kissfaq@outlook.com. There's no question to answer. Just say, give me, and maybe you'll get it. And it's open to everyone worldwide as well. And I really hope it isn't won by someone in Australia, because postage is like $75 to there. Mark, Project Gemini, you want to give us a quick update?
Yeah, well, I just recently received my test acetate for the vinyl release of the newest record. Much to my surprise, it came out perfect on the first shot. Usually I'm used to maybe doing like 2 or 3, attempts at it to get it the way I like it. But since me and Kevin Park, who does the lacquer cutting at Lacquer Channel, has been working with me for so long now, we kind of know what each other kind of wants to make the record sound good. So I think we're in sync now with what to do with it. So it sounds really good. I'm very happy with the way this turned out. So I'm very excited about it. It will be another color vinyl. People have been speaking. I did say that I wanted to do it between two different colors, red or yellow. And yellow seems to be the overwhelming favorite in this race right now for it. So it looks like it will be that. Yeah, lots of other things going to be happening. We're just about finished doing the 2 cover songs for the digital download card that's going to be included with it as well. All I'm going to say is that it's going to be 1 Maiden song and 1 Queen song. That's going to be for the
cool.
bonus song. So, and it sounds really good so far. So I'm very happy about that. And for a special bonus this time in our pre-order, I'm doing a very special, maybe 10 copies only, lathe cut version of an EP that I hadn't put on vinyl at all. So maybe I might do the Lost Science Files or something. But I went to Lacquer Channel, and there's a lady there who does these lathe cuts there, and they sound absolutely fantastic. I couldn't believe, I was so impressed with it. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people were very hyped about it as well. So I think for the pre-order, I'm going to offer maybe 10 of a EP that hasn't been released, and people are really on it. So if you are interested, just go check out the official Project Gemini page, and get in on it. And I want to say one more thing too. I want to send a special greeting to the Australian people as well. I have quite a few people who have been buying my records from Australia, and that's got to say something, because shipping to there is a lot of money, and I always feel so heartbroken when I have to tell them how much it is to ship there, but they've always been cool about it. And I'm trying to think of something to do for them as well, especially, because of the supporters that have been from Australia helping me out. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and I'm hoping that I can mentally send some of this minus 17 wind chill weather here from Canada over their way to get rid of their snow. So hopefully maybe that'll work.
I heard a disruption in the force.
Canada seems cold. We had such a mild winter over here. Around 0 degrees Celsius so far.
I wish.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Well, it was cold today in San Francisco. It's 60.
Oh, yeah.
What's
Rub
that,
it in, Ray.
Well, it's like 12 or 14 or something like that.
Oh,
So,
my God.
I don't know Fahrenheit.
All right, so let's talk Christmas or other recent purchases. Anyone get anything good for Christmas? I did get something.
That's really cool looking.
And
Wow.
I don't usually buy
Ken should have that one. That's a
I know.
pan and
That's
a kiss.
true.
It's perfect.
Yeah, I couldn't resist. Someone posted this up on the FAQ. It's completely bootleg. But I don't have any green T-shirts anyway. So since it does have the Catman on it, I was thrilled to see that and get it. That's the only thing I've added into my collection lately. I'm just like looking around because I leave shit on my desk. No one's going to care about most of the stuff I get in the mail at the moment. Stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
But anyone else, anything added into your collection over the past few weeks?
Yeah, well, I'll go.
Go ahead.
You all got some, but anyway, this is a
Of course.
gift. This is actually the Paul Stanley Puma. It's a sweatshirt. It has it has stars here.
Yeah.
The Puma thing. It has purple, purple up here, and then on the waistband. So it's a Paul Stanley.
Very Star Childish.
Is that is that a tracksuit? Like you're halfway to being a Liverpudlian?
Stand up. Let's see.
It's not.
Is it a one piece?
No, it's a sweatshirt. It's not.
Oh, okay.
So,
Come on, you got to model it there.
Yeah, nice.
There you go.
All right, so it's
Spin around.
It's not a new set of trackies.
What else? Oh, and I did get Kiss socks too, by the way. Yeah, I did get
Wow.
that.
All
So
right,
you have
Daniel.
all of it now. That goes along great with the Pumas, the shoes.
Like
You have them as well.
ensemble. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. I have the original Pumas, right?
It's a Kiss cap and you're all set to go. Yeah.
Ready for the concert.
Yeah.
But you're
What
going
about
to
you, Daniel?
You're going to be standing next to me dressed like that.
I didn't hear. What did you say there, Julian?
Said he's going to be standing next to me dressed like that.
No, I'll probably have my rock and roll over jacket.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Thank
The
God.
cold.
Yeah.
All right, Daniel. Sorry, go.
Well, I don't buy as much stuff as Ken does, but I just got myself a few singles from back in the day. The Swedish equivalent of what's the site where eBay. There's a Swedish site that's almost the same. So from time to time, I buy some stuff from there. So I just got myself a mint copy of the Tears of Falling single and the Heavens on Fire single for, like a few bucks. But I think it's cool to have because that's my, the start
era.
for me. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I got and I think I must have posted it before, but in our house, because we have such an extended family now, every sister that I have has at least 3 or 4 kids now. So it's like a big swarm of, mass people whenever we do Christmas. So we decided in order to not go bankrupt that we do a Kris Kringle so that each of the adults just picks one adult from a hat and we just buy for one member and that's it. And this way we just buy for the kids and that's it, right? So for my Kris Kringle, I actually got the Geddy Lee Big Book of Bass for Christmas,
okay.
which is
Nice.
absolutely fantastic. One of the best coffee table books I've ever seen. And it weighs a ton. Like I almost pulled my shoulder lifting this damn thing up. It's really heavy. It's like 500 pages. It has every bass guitar that Geddy Lee owns in his collection. And he has some real buttes, like 1952 Fender bass guitar and Fender precision basses and jazz basses. He has all the Rickenbackers that he had from back in the day. It's just really, really fantastic. And myself, I've been picking up just some additions to my David Bowie picture disc collection. Those picture 7-inch discs that he's been putting out. All the singles are out on these little 7-inch picture discs. So I got a couple of other ones, DJ and Boys Keep Swinging, and all these other ones from the middle era. I guess we're on like Lodger and albums like that, and Never Let Me Down. So I think next we're going to be getting picture discs from the Let's Dance era. So, but I'm a big Bowie fan, as you know, and I collect that stuff. But my era is obviously the Mick Ronson era. He's the man. He's the guy who got me into playing guitar a lot now lately too again. So anything that's with him on it, I'm getting it.
Do you have a gold top in your collection?
Do I?
Yeah. A Ronson guitar.
But I definitely want to get a 73 Les Paul, but they're pretty pricey, but I'd love to get one.
Yeah, so Jim Carra had a Ronson signature model that looked very interesting. I was very tempted for a while. All right, let's get into today's. Actually, the last piece of news was Foo Fighters have released their latest kind of EP, which is just stuff from the B-sides of their archive. This time they've included Ace Frehley's Ozone. That was in the '90s when this first came out. People used to try and pass it off as a Kiss demo. I don't know how the hell that was, but that's up on most streaming services. I don't know if it's on iTunes yet, but whatever. If you don't already have it in your collection, now you can get it, is the point. All right, we're just going to do a bunch of topics off the board this week. There's been a lot of discussion over the past couple of weeks, none of which we've really kind of dug into. So why don't we just start some randomness here? And Ken, let's start with you. If you could go and do a meet and greet with any member of KISS, whom would it be with and why? And I guess you have to exclude the ones you've already done.
Oh, I'd have to exclude the ones I've already done. Okay. I guess, well...
And exclude Vinny.
Yeah, I'll exclude Vinny. Who did I not have a real meet and greet with? I guess I haven't had a real meet and greet with Ace. So, even though I have a picture of myself with Ace when he was down at the Gene Simmons Vault in L.A. But I haven't had a meet and greet. So, yeah, I think it would be good to to talk with him a little bit and just chat. I don't know what he's going to remember, of course, but
he doesn't chat.
He won't hear
he doesn't
me
talk
either,
and he usually doesn't even get up from the table.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I would say meet again with Gene because just Gene's my guy. I guess Paul. I mean, the meet and greet I had with Paul was just so quick. It was just a handshake and gone. So I think that would be a good one to have.
Okay. So. Good answers. I mean, there's no way I'm going to let you talk about Gene's Vault again. Daniel, if you could do a meet and greet, who would it be with and why?
Well, actually, I don't see the point of meet and greets for me personally. Go in there. I can understand it feels good to meet like your heroes and stuff, but for me it was never about their personalities or wanting to speak with them or something like that. To me it was always about the show they put on, the music they released. So, and I think I always feel kind of, you're not on the same level. It feels so strange when you go in like sheep after each other and hello Paul, can I have like 2 minutes of your time? I feel like, I don't know, I feel inferior and I don't like that feeling. So I'd much rather, my dream would be to run into one of the guys at a bar or something. And that excludes Gene, I guess, and Paul. So yeah. I'd say Eric Singer seems to be kind of a fun-loving guy who always interacts in a fun way with fans, and he can go a bit further in the discussions than Gene and Paul because they're corporate, almost like lawyers. So Gene is a bit less like a lawyer, but Paul is just. I wouldn't like to meet him. I think I would be very disappointed. So I'd like to meet Eric Singer in a bar. I think we could have a real good time.
Interesting. Mark, how about you?
I'm going to echo a lot of the same things that Daniel says. I was always never a big meet and greet guy. That's why I loved going to the NAMM conventions, because I got to meet all the guys that I wanted to meet in an environment that they knew people would be just talking with them, but they had no worry about it because it was only musicians. It was not open to the general public. So you could walk up to Bruce Kulick, like I've done a few times, and talk with them for like 15, 20 minutes. I remember me and my friend went to the Pasty Cymbal spot and talked to Nickel McBrain for an hour and 25 minutes. And it was funny because when we were talking with him, he was going through all these cymbals, and my friend was a drummer, and he's like, "Hey mate, what do you think of this cymbal? Do you think it sounds too top end?" And he was like talking about cymbals with us for like a good hour, and it was hilarious because, because my drummer knew all about cymbals and stuff like that. So he was actually, in a big, deep conversation with him. And those are the kind of conversations I think Daniel's trying to get at, rather than feeling like you're some inferior, like schlub, like, yeah, here, shake my hand and get out of here, kid. At least they kind of take you more as a one-on-one regular person in these environments, right? Like, that's why I met Chuck Billy from Testament. I met, Gene Hoglan from Testament as well, and from a few other bands that he was involved with. Just great people. But again, Bruce Kulick was probably my favorite meet that I've ever done at that. But the one person that I'd like to meet hopefully in an environment like this again in the future is maybe Tommy Thayer. He's somebody who I think I would have a good, rapport with and talk about, not only guitar stuff, but, we can talk about other things. But I think that I would probably get along with him, the best. I kind of get the feeling that talking to Paul about guitars, he would probably still make you feel like, you're like gum under his shoe when it comes to that kind of stuff. He's Paul Stanley and you're just somebody else. You know what I mean? So, but I really like to meet with Tommy Thayer.
I think Paul might surprise you actually, but it's all it's all about the force field, and what his initial perception of you may be, and I just don't know. I don't really want to have that sort of time with Paul, with kind of some of the history that there is. So
Paul's calling right now.
Yeah, shit. It's probably Bob.
Nobody said Bob.
So in terms of meet and greets, I mean, I've had quite a few interactions with everyone, and each one of them has already been perfect, or as perfect as they can be, and interesting. So there's really no one left from the band itself for me to kind of do it with, so I would have to want to do a meet and greet with one of the producers, and Vinny Poncia, just because he's never responded to my yearly freaking emails begging for an interview, just to spend some time talking about his contributions to the band's history and getting all those questions that were burning on my mind answered, regardless of whether there was a tape recorder running or not. So, just for my own satisfaction, forget everyone else. I'm not going to transcribe it or record it. So, that's it for me. And by the way, if you guys have topics that are, on your mind that have been on the board lately, jump in and interrupt me while I go through the list, because otherwise I will control. All right. Okay, speaking of Vinny Poncia, good segue into a second topic that's been up on the FAQ recently, and that is, if Kiss had opened with a song off the Dynasty album on the Dynasty tour, well, technically it was the Return of Kiss tour, which should it have been, Ken?
Charisma. I mean, sorry, but that's kind of like one of my favorite songs off that album anyway. And yeah, we know the story that you guys all know about that. So I think that'd be a good lead off. Kick into that. I think it would work. Because there's some other songs. I wouldn't have wanted to lead off with "I Was Made for Love You." To me, that would just make no sense no darn sense. And then there's some of the other mellower stuff that wouldn't work, and maybe an Ace tune. I don't know, but and that would never happen anyway because they'd never let Ace lead off a concert. So I go with charisma.
Sorry, scam baddies being annoying. Sorry, Andrew. Daniel.
Yeah, I have to go the other way. I'd start with I Was Made for Loving You. It was a big hit. It was why people came to the shows, new fans, and kick off with a boom. And I always liked the way they played it live. I think it was an up-tempo, good opening track for opening song for a show. And when you see them performing it like in Sydney with Eric Carr or with Eric Singer on a Live 3, it's a really cool song to me. I always like the live version because you have to separate the studio version from how it sounded live. It's like two completely different songs. Mm-hmm. So that would get the people going much more than Charisma, even though I like Charisma more as a song, but it wouldn't work as an opening track for a show. Slow tempo. Maybe if they rocked it up, they could have done something with it, but I wouldn't open with that one.
I mean, that's why they use the other songs like "I Stole Your Love" and all those. I mean, it just didn't make sense to open up with a Dynasty song. But I Was Made for Love You, Daniel, I Was Made for Loving You back then did not sound very good when they first started. When they played it in concert back then, compared to maybe a Live 3 or the Revenge lineup, it was a lot better then than when they first did it. It wasn't very good.
Charisma with Peter Criss, I don't know, would it have been a whole lot better? Because that was the problem back then.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's no Anton Segan. Yeah, so
no. So I think it's more about the drummer. That's the problem with playing any song from Dynasty on that tour.
Yeah. Well, with that said, I think that the song that I'd be interested in hearing, mainly because it's probably not an overly complicated song for Peter to have done, but it's also a bit more of an up-tempo song, and I think I might surprise you guys with my selection, is I would say, how about X-Ray Eyes? I think opening a song like with that might be good. It's kind of a bit more up-tempo-ish. And again, though, letting Gene open the show, Paul might have some issue with that, but I think it's a good song. I mean, over the years, that song has kind of grown on me more than it has when I first heard this record, but Dynasty, for some reason, over the last couple of years has really grown on me as a record overall. So most of the songs off this record now sit well with me in any capacity.
And
You're muted, Julian.
I can't hear Julian either.
Oh, I was unmuted before and then muted myself. That's real smart. I'm a little bit out of practice. That surprised me, that pick. I did not see you going there, Mark. And what I said was surprising. What an odd choice. But here's an odd choice as well, and I'm saying Hard Times, just a straight up rocker.
Oh yeah, that's a great song.
They could say here's the B-side to our latest single to get out of playing "I Was Made for Loving You."
That's right. The other side of that single. Yeah.
But I think, to be perfectly honest, none of the songs on Dynasty are particularly well geared or structured for opening a concert. Especially a Kiss concert. All right, let's move on. Anyone want to jump in with their own? I like this one. This one was so stupid with what was 4 options to vote for. What's your favorite Kiss podcast? There are only 4. And for me, it's difficult because so many do so many good things. I mean, I find myself gravitating to Podkiss a lot, as that was the one that kind of started it off for me. Decibel Geek, they don't just do Kiss content, but when they do it very well. Ages of Rock, those are kind of the ones I listen to the most, but I also can't keep track of all the freaking Kiss podcasts, so, very, very kind of difficult. Ken?
Yeah, there's more. I mean, I saw that on the board. I think I answered. I didn't vote actually, but I said, you're excluding. They only listed 4, and I said, you forgot Podcast and Podcast Rock City. I mean, I listen to those when they, every time they come out with with the podcast. I mean, Podcast Rock City, I know I listen to pretty much religiously every like Monday. I think it comes out. I use it to commute and listen to them, chat about Kiss, and it's really good.
And they go live. They go live Wednesday nights, don't they?
They do have a live show, on Wednesday nights, and I sometimes check that out. But I mean, there's so many, like you said, Julian, out there. So there's plenty of subjects and topics of Kiss to talk, that people talk about, and plenty of podcasts to choose from. They're all, they're all good. It's all good.
Yep, Daniel.
Well, do you know how many podcasts are there around about other bands from the 70s and 80s era? Is this unique for Kiss? Because there seems to be a whole lot. I don't know.
There's probably a lot of Beatles ones. I would.
Yeah, but yeah. But I'm thinking like Aerosmith. Are there a lot of?
Julian?
I don't think I've seen one.
Because
is there an Aerosmith one? Because I'm actually planning on doing one in conjunction with the book, and to start doing that, to start talking about some of the topics and shit that I've been uncovering, while researching it. So I'm game to add to the pile of Aerosmith ones. Just be a matter of finding people who are kind of interested and know enough about the band's history in order to kind of talk. Because I think the object of any podcast is not only to entertain, but where possible impart knowledge. But Daniel, I think you're right. Kiss is a very unique creature in that there's probably more podcasts about Kiss than the band's popularity deserves.
Yeah, it's kind of striking. But if I would have to pick a Kiss podcast, I think I'd have to go with one that doesn't exist anymore, or at least it doesn't exist in the same form. It seems like many of Kiss podcasts, they go through a metamorphosis. I'm not sure how to pronounce that word, but you know what I mean.
That's right.
And like you mentioned, the Kiss Decibel or the Decibel podcast. But I'm thinking of this one, which is called Pot of Thunder, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I really enjoy that one. They went through every song in the Kiss catalog and dissected it. And it seemed like a group of fun guys, friendly with each other, a whole lot of bantering going on between them. It was real fun to listen to, and they had a lot of interesting views. And sometimes they didn't know the songs, they had forgotten them, but it still was entertaining. So it's not, at times it's always fun to learn more about the band, but at times it's just fun to hear them rediscovering songs that they had forgotten, and like, man, this was great, or man, this sucks. And if you haven't heard that podcast, you people who are listening today, I think you should give it a try.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's definitely good. When I started off listening to podcasts, there was two that I was always listening to. Well, three. Two of them, the main ones were History Science Theater and Podcast. I mean, I listen to podcasts so religiously. I have a box in my closet where I have every single episode from number one till I think about, I don't know, like who knows how many years worth on CD, and I made my own little personal hand-drawn covers for each CD for each episode. And I think I sent the picture to Ken Mills, and he was like just overwhelmed with how many different discs of pictures I made for this stuff. And because I was a big listener to that, and then it kind of branched out. The third one was Three Sides of the Coin. I did start listening to that, but when Mitch left, it kind of wasn't as interesting. I still listen to it here and there, but I'm not going to get into it about those guys. But they have some great episodes when they have guests, but when there's just them talking, it's sometimes I like to click it off. But other than that, I mean, there's so many great ones out there. I love Podcast Rock City. I love listening to Pottered in Hell. That's a great podcast. I've been on that one a few times too, so I love being on that show with those guys. And they're doing a whole month on Van Halen this month, so that's kind of cool.
That's cool.
And there's also other podcasts. You're saying that, Daniel, if there's other bands that have podcasts, the ones that are starting to pop up more now as I've noticed that there's quite a few Rush ones now that are starting to come up.
Mm.
There was only one for a while, but now there's about 5 or 6 of them.
Wow.
There's a couple Van Halen. There's a couple of David Bowie ones. There was a great Bowie one, the Bowie A to Z one, but they literally did everything from A to Z. Like they say, this week's episode in A is Aladdin Sane, and they would do that, and they would go through the whole alphabet about Bowie. And when they finally got to Z, which was Ziggy Stardust, that was the end of the podcast. They stopped. I was so disappointed because it was such an awesome podcast. They still have older episodes up if you're interested in that. A to Z of David Bowie. It's a really great podcast. But that's the thing. So I like listening to these podcasts because sometimes they just sort of end their episodes and their run after a while and then just leave it at that. So I think it's just best to enjoy it while it's around. And same with but there's ones I think that'll be around for a long time still. Like the Kiss Room is a podcast I can't imagine going anywhere anytime soon. That's a long-going podcast, and it's really, really good with those guys, Matt Porter and them. And there's so many. Ages of Rock is great. I've been on that one too as well. I love those guys. They do some interesting discussions about different topics, and I think that's also sometimes the key to the longevity of some of them is that when they have other things they can branch out to besides just one band, it gives them a much bigger platform to discuss.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sure.
And, I think one of the criticisms that was raised about any podcast, there are some people who are saying, I don't listen to any of them. They all suck because they lack structure. I think there is fair. You do have ones that are very well structured, I think, which, Podcast kind of sets a standard. Kiss Room follows it as well. But, us, we just get together and talk. We don't really have any structure or plan other than talk about new purchases, talk about this, promote that, and then, go for it. I think early on we tried to have structure, but it just became too much like a job trying to, you can't write an episode because then you're like doing a pod history like we did for the Peter Chris episode. And, the amount of hours that took at my skill level was just brutal. So, whatever it is, listen to who you like. Don't listen to who you like. Get bored, press fast forward. Still bored, press stop. No one's gonna get offended. Say you didn't like it. Say what you like. Tell people. Give people feedback. Be respectful in how you do. And so that was an interesting one. Let's see here. Another interesting thread right under there was, would you have welcomed a lady space on lead guitar? And thinking of Orthani, is that her name? Who's the gal in Alice Cooper? Is that Orthani?
Nina Strauss.
Oh, that's Nina
Strauss and Orianthi, or it's Orianthi,
yeah. She's gone now, but Nina Strauss is the one.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of that. Remember in L.A., Ken, when Prince was playing?
Yeah, I thought of that too when you said that.
The drummer in Motley Crue.
Samantha Maloney, who I actually saw play with them, was really good. Way better than Tommy Lee.
It would have been, I think, Tommy Lee. I think it would have been. I would have been fine with it. It doesn't matter. I mean, as long as they can play the licks and do a great job, as Tommy has, or Bruce has, in the past or whatever. I have no problem with it. I think it would be an interesting dynamic having a woman on stage with Gene and Paul and Eric. So I think, I think that would be fine. And maybe 2.0 will be all women. I don't know.
The funny thing is, though, I thought about this question too. I have no problem with having a woman ace up there, space woman, because there's a lot of great guitar players who are women out there now. I mean, Nina Strauss, like we just mentioned, is a fantastic guitar player. I mean, back in the day, Jennifer Batten, I believe her name is, she was the one who played with Michael Jackson. She's like incredible, two-handed, 8-finger tapping stuff is incredible. She's better than most men on guitar, So I had no issue about whether it's a woman or not playing. But I'll tell you one thing: it'll never happen for one primary reason. Do you ever think that Paul Stanley would allow somebody else on stage that would be looked at more than him Could you imagine some girl in a tight outfit up there playing guitar, and all guys would be looking at her? Paul would be literally running up in front of her and dancing in front of her so that they look at him instead of her, most likely. Because you know how Paul is. He wants the spotlight on him, and he's never made any bones about that, that he's the guy who wants to be in the spotlight. So I could only see that being an issue. But other than that, I have no issue with a female guitarist.
It wouldn't last long. It would end up in court for harassment once Gene licked him on stage. like he does to Ace and to Tommy, licking them. Yeah, harassment. I was harassed at work by Gene Simmons, literally on stage, and there were 14,000 witnesses.
Wasn't Meredith a Kiss guitarist at one time?
Oh.
Okay,
Daniel, any thoughts on the lady space?
Well, I think the PC answer is, of course, great. Yes, bring on anyone. Girls even better in the name of equality. But I actually experienced Kiss having a drummer at one point in time. It was when they released the God Gave Rock and Roll video, and a friend of mine saw it before me. And if you remember, they had clips from the film in the early music video that Kiss did, and there was a blonde girl drumming. So my friend told me, "Hey, you know who the new drummer in Kiss is? She's a girl." And I remember my reaction. I was just a teenager, but I didn't like it. I wanted it to be a guy. So I don't think it would work. The chemistry with Gene back in the day when he was full on swine mode, pig that he was. It wouldn't work at all. But no, I don't think.
Too much testosterone.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the biggest problem with it is it's hairy guerrilla music that borders on the misogynistic in some ways.
Yeah.
And in this politically correct world, it really, there's no reason why a woman can't play, because there are plenty of players who can play the hell out of Ace's and Vinny's and Bruce's licks, perfectly well. So there's no gender reason why they can't. But in terms of the band symmetry, I think Mark probably nailed it. That not that it would necessarily detract from Paul, it would just stand out like a sore thumb. So, and no one mentioned the great cat. You talked about Jennifer Batten. Worship me or die. That have her go up against Vinny.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. What's missing from Kiss merch that you'd love if they made? Ken, who buys merch.
Yeah.
I'd really like some music. Hard. Does music count as merch?
Yeah, it could be. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll go with. Well, shoot, that's kind of hard.
You're trying to think what haven't they made already and slapped their names on? I mean, they've got toilet paper, they've got Crocs, they've got.
Yeah. The problem is
urns.
They are only focusing on the makeup era. I always say this when we talk about merchandise. Why not focus a little bit on Animalize, Asylum, Revenge?
Have you not seen Paul's latest line of Pumas? Animalize?
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, but I'm talking more about merchandise that deals with the band. T-shirts, posters from back in the day, photos that we haven't seen. Put something together. I might even buy that, but I'm not buying anything more from like another T-shirt with Eric Singer and Tommy Thayer. I mean, that's been done to death. They need to. Have a look at the stuff that they really haven't touched for decades. They did that thing with Hot in the Shade, but they picked the worst-looking album cover in Kiss's entire career and put that on that T-shirt and made a vinyl out of it. So I don't know.
Well, the T-shirt looks good, actually.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I have to agree. It looks kind of cool. Yeah. But I like the old. Do they have the older one? with
I've
you know
seen that
like
older
the
one.
skull. It looks
Yeah,
almost
you
like
can
a
get the
skull.
old one. You can still
Yeah.
buy that old one. They have it out there.
That looks kind of cool, actually.
But to me, it's more about the music still. I'd
Yeah.
rather just have more music, or again, we talked about it, the box sets and kind of things for each album have some kind of box set with extra songs and live
Yeah.
stuff and video all included. You can put posters in there too with it. So that's the most important thing for me.
Sorry.
No, please, you go.
Oh, I was gonna say I've done, and I've said it before. I've been a big voice for wanting to see some of their stuff go into Blu-ray. None of their stuff is really available in that, and maybe some of their older filmed concerts could be upgraded into Blu-ray. That'd be really really cool to see. One of the things that I'm also a big fan of, and we mentioned it before, that some bands have done it, like Metallica and King Crimson and stuff like that, have like a separate website where you can go on, become a member, and get shows, like sometimes like dozens and dozens of shows from tours that they've done, in audio and video to download. You can have whole concerts that you can download off their site. I mean, the time has come. Like they said themselves, the end of the road. What are you going to do when this is done? I mean, you got to start thinking about finding ways to monetize further if you're going to keep this wagon rolling. And what better way to do it than that way? You must have hundreds of shows archived somewhere. I mean, I know that these guys are recording stuff, even board tapes from these shows somewhere. They must have a gigantic vault of them somewhere. Start putting them up. I mean, I know we laugh at that all the time, but you'd be surprised. I know I keep hearing stuff even now from other bands I get involved with. Somebody said that they went into their closet and, oh shit, I found a box with like 7 shows from 1978. I said like yes or something like that, right? And they suddenly put it up and people are, they flip out and they want a copy of it. So
yeah,
why not?
I just think Kiss has signed some really bad business deals. That is what keeps them from being able to do this. Whether it's with rare recordings, that the rights over all the performance rights are so messed up, the publishing and etc. would just lead to such a legal quagmire were they to try and do that. I mean, did they sign such shitty deals with like Instant Live that they didn't get to use any of that stuff after? They did release 3 songs from those on the Rock the Nation Live Japanese 3-inch CD, so they were able to use some of it. Why can't they put up all those shows from 2004 or put them either on a pay site like Metallica does? I mean, shit. Yeah. Look, I've been spending a lot of time watching Metallica pro shots that have been synced up with the soundboard audio, and just watching the hell out of those shows because they're so, entertaining multicams, and they're all up on YouTube for free. Well, why can't Kiss, just make all those Instant Lives from 2004 through, when was the last ones that they did, 2008, that were all shitty MP3s anyway, and put them all up? There must be a reason, because this is Kiss. They would be monetizing it, like fly on dog shit, if there weren't problems or some reason why they couldn't. So I really think that, while it's such a great idea, and the bands that do it, well, hopefully Motley Crue never does it. It's got to make sense. And we've heard stories about Gene coming off stage and grabbing the board tape. I think it was St. Joseph's on the Revenge tour when he was sick and he sang Paul songs, or Paul was sick and Gene sang Paul songs, sorry. That he smashed the tape so that it would never, end up in the archive. And we've heard stories about road crew members from the early 70s having chests full of tapes, some of which did get out. Hammond, what was it, Tulsa, the late 74 shows, the very few of those. Trying to think of what the other one, Brewery. So Lansing, East Lansing, Michigan. So I think it's a great idea, and I would love for it to happen, but I just think there is a massive reason why we're just going to be left wanting, Ken, for music, because that's just not where it's at. I think on this Japan tour, there was some really cool looking merch, rugs, keychains, all the little pins, stuff like that. What do I want? Well, you were talking about Geddy Lee's Book of Bass, and for me, it's about photographs and books. And I think if they did that big ass, well, let's not say big ass coffee table book, because then they'll do some $8,000 gold leaf thing that no one can afford. But History Volume 3. Make it a reissue of all the tour books up through the end of the road. Put in, some interchapters with outtakes and, interviews with Dennis Willock, about why certain decisions were made for certain pictures to be included in there. Have like the different pages of like the Dynasty tour book that, explain why the pages were changed, and there's multiple versions of, even the World Domination tour book has multiple versions. We're up to 4 versions for End of the Road. And while, the changes are minor, if you have them all mapped out, Crazy Nights with or without that one little line in the logo, stupid stuff like that, that's the sort of merch that I want. Again, it touches the band's history, it's visually appealing, and if it tells a little bit of a story, think of Warren Abbott's book with Gene and Paul, the early years. Had lots of photos with a little bit of narrative from Gene and Paul.
I just watched a video of Bob Rock being interviewed for, I think it was the Gibson YouTube channel, and it was a great interview. It's an hour long. I think you would enjoy it because he goes through the albums and has some stories. I would like to see that done with the Kiss's producers through the years, the ones who are left. If they want to record something new, they should add interviews with those guys, because there's whole lot of stories. I just remember I read the Kiss and Sell book the other day, and I mean, a guy like that, he has hundreds of cool stories, and he surely has a lot that wasn't presented in the book. To see those kind of interviews in some form is something that would be a real nice touch, I think.
Agree. Actually, Julian, can I put up a topic?
Yeah, please do. Give me a break.
Okay. Well, I'm very curious about this with you guys. As we all know, David Lee Roth got announced as the opening guy for the next tour. Now, the thing is, they put up a video just today, I think, of his first performance at the House of Blues in Las Vegas. Have you guys watched it? And what are you guys' opinions of this? They have a video where they have now a lot of the songs, like him doing Just Like Paradise, Tobacco Road, and talking about Love, Jump, Beautiful Girls. There's all kinds of songs that he's doing on there. So for me, I'll just quickly say this: the set list is good that he's picked. So he has a lot of songs from his solo albums, the good ones like Eat 'Em and Smile and Skyscraper and stuff like that. Good Van Halen selection. The band, I think, is pretty good. They played really good. The guitar player is fantastic. I'd love to know who that is, because there's no mention of who these people are.
Good singing, backups, chorus.
Backup singing is fantastic.
Yeah.
And his in-between song banters are interesting, sometimes a little long, I think, but they're interesting stories. But I definitely think, though, that just his singing is just wow. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to belittle the man, because he is 65 years old.
Yeah. Do you mean wow or wow?
Yeah, like wow. Because I mean, when he did Just Like Paradise, he is trying so hard to sing really high in that song, and I don't know why he's doing it, because he's singing high in the wrong spots. He shouldn't be harmonizing where he is harmonizing. He's mixing up lyrics again and stuff like that. But you know what? Just the energy off of him, though, I find to be kind of, in fact, kind of enticing, because he's always smiling, he's always pointing, and hey, look at you, hey, he's in a good mood, and that's going to be infectious. I think that is something that's desperately needed on a Kiss tour that could start to become a little stale, doing the same things over and over again. To have somebody new like that to come bursting out of the curtain,
I have to agree with everything you said. It was my experience as well when I watched it. I mean, his singing is not very good, but he's a front man, and that's always been the main thing with him. And he's still quite the front man, and he moves around, and I'm sure he'll be exciting to watch as an opening act. And we're used to bad singing by this point, so not a big thing.
I think we need a little bit of reason dialed in, Ken.
Well, I mean, it's again we're watching we're watching YouTube videos or Twitter
Yeah.
videos, and from whatever speaker that the person is closest to or whatever, and I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't think his singing is so great. It never was, I guess, really. But I did hear him, singing lines that were at different keys or whatever, or out of key, or he's just going off on whatever way he feels like singing the song, and not strictly sticking to the original, recorded version. But having said that, it may sound great or halfway decent if you're there live in concert. Lots of times that's the case. And that's the case with, I think, with a lot of those, I guess, Paul videos that happened few years ago that it seemed not so hot. Though, having said that, maybe Dave could do the Paul Stanley thing, try to do the same thing as Paul and make it bad. But I don't see him doing it.
Not without a lot of
He couldn't
Ritalin.
keep track of what to sing. I don't think he has the same mindset.
It'd be hard for him to, because he's so off, ad lib kind of guy. I think if he sings, Jump twice, it's not going to be the same. It's going to be different every time he sings it.
Yeah,
so, that's just the way it is. He's not to a script, really.
Out of key, bad pitch, no tonality, and vocal smoothing pedal will sort that straight. Bullshit, He's David Lee Roth. He really is kind of an entertainer. But frankly, that was dreadful, and I was thinking about investing in some LSD for the show, because that's the only way I can imagine enjoying that, apart from the entertainment value. It was hellishly entertaining. I loved the set list. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Come on, Big Train. I think the only thing I'd throw in "She's My Machine" for me, which I profess my favorite song off that album. Thank God there was only, I think, the one song off, just like "Skyscraper," which I hate with a passion. That
Really?
whole album. Oh, I can't stand it. I just loved the covers that he had, and he had "You Really Got Me." He had "California Girls." "Tobacco Road" is fantastic.
Road, yeah.
"Just a Gigolo" and "I Ain't Got No Body." So there were some really good covers in there that I think if he did them straighter, maybe if he listens to Paul's Soul Station and gets back, and dials down the rockin' vibe and does them more kind of loungy, and then go to the Diamond Dave album and throw in some of those, 6 from 9, or can't even remember what's on that album, but there was some pretty good stuff. It was a great set that kind of was ruined by Dave. And he simply, I didn't go to the 2007 tour after what I heard, because I just didn't want to kind of experience that for those reasons. So I'm kind of like, why the hell have I been going to Kiss? Why I got two different sets of rules here for myself. But I think I'm going to have fun. I'm going to be entertained. No, but I also think I'm going to be entertained by looking around and watching people's kind of jaws open. Those especially who have no idea. They're going to see David Lee Roth performing tonight, and they're going to show up and say, "That's David Lee Roth." They're smugly going, "Yeah."
Yeah, well, I mean, but like I said, the band though is fantastic. I mean, I'd really like to get a full video of this, because I was mainly interested in the guitar player. He played these songs like so spot on. I'd love to hear what they did with Tobacco Road. It's one of my favorite songs from the David Lee Roth solo era. Like that whole Eat 'Em and Smile record is just fantastic. But but the thing with Dave that kind of bothers me is that he never needed to do anything overly fantastic. Yeah, he had that trademark signature, really high pitched that he used to do all the time, but he can just sing it normally. He doesn't need to show off and do anything fantastic, but for some reason he tries to go to these stratospheric high notes that just don't fit in these songs. Like just sing it normally. And I mean, the whole thing with the set list, I think, was smart. And I know that you were kind of hinting at it, Julian, about, maybe doing some of the, the lounge kind of versions of songs, or maybe something like that. But I think that's specifically what Kiss didn't want him to do on this tour. I think they wanted him to very much come in, bring a hard rock and, no nonsense rock and roll set with a lot of Van Halen and a lot of his early solo stuff, and get the crowd revved up and, all ready and salivating for a big monstrous Kiss set afterward, right? So I think that's why he kept it that way, because I think you would lose people if he started doing, loungy versions of songs and stuff like that. They wanted to be there for a rock show. So I think he's smart that he did that. And I think he picked the right people. I'm very interested to investigate this band further to see who's playing with them.
Yeah, and I've just fact-checked myself for that Diamond Dave album, and it was a 609, Jimi Hendrix, You Got the Blues, Not Me, which is a really good song. He's got some Savoy Brown on there, which, just says it all. But I think if he can, maybe do some of that loungy stuff to start off and then go into the up-tempo thing, everyone can be happy, except for maybe might need 2 vocal smoothing pedals.
Well, he has the backing singers. They do quite a lot of it, and they're doing it fine. Which is why I don't understand why he doesn't kind of lean on them a little bit more. When I saw David Lee Roth solo on tour for A Little Ain't Enough, for that tour, he did that a lot. He came out, he just sang the verse and let the chorus and the pre-chorus parts only be sung by the backing guys, and it sounded great because he just had the more easier parts to sing, and the harder stuff he gave to the real good singers to do, and it was fantastic, and nobody complained.
Yep. All right. Anyone else got a topic that you want to cover, or let's leave these other ones in the trash heap, where a couple of them belong, I think. Ken?
Well, the other one, just one, where we talked about, or it's the one about camping out. General mission stories.
Oh, yeah. Did I just deliberately leave out the one that I had kind of ID'd for you as someone who probably did camp out? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I guess you can say camping out, but going to the box office, which was like either, Tower Records back in the day, and trying to get there as early as possible to get in line for a Kiss ticket. And the only ones I can really remember is, I think the Stone, when I went to get tickets for the Stone, I think I went there about 3 a.m. in the morning. So I didn't go to bed or anything. I just stayed up and went and got in line at 3 a.m. And we still weren't the first in line. We were like maybe third in line. And it's just a club. This is 92. But Kiss's popularity kind of, were wavering around that time. So fortunately, I was able to get tickets to that, me and my buddy. Otherwise, there's other time. I think, the reunion, I didn't think it was going to be as big of a deal, I guess, as I thought it was. And I think I might have gone around 6 a.m. or something like that. 5 or 6 a.m. And I had to get 4 tickets to that. And there was a big line when I got there. And by the time I got up there and I bought 4 tickets, because buying 4 tickets is a lot harder to get closer than buying, say, 2 tickets or 1 ticket, and a show. So I was way back. I was kind of pissed off because I was so far back in the arena, and this is when they played at San Jose in '96. So I was like, oh shoot, I can't believe this. But I thought, whatever, I'll see them again and stuff like that. But otherwise, the only other stuff is I remember having to go real early and camp out, because the fact is, back then most seats were general admission. It was just general admission. You didn't have reserved seats back then in the day. A lot of the shows were just general admission, so you could just go anytime during that first day or first week even or more, and get just get a general admission ticket. So it's a matter of you getting to the concert early itself in order to get there. So, for instance, my first show in Dynasty at the Cow Palace, I got there. The line, I don't know if they haven't let people in yet, but the line was going around the front of the building, all the way down the back of the side of the building, and then the back side of the building, the line was going, and then back out in the parking lot. We were way the heck back there. But when I got in, a lot of people went to the stands, and I went to the floor. And I was kind of like under where the disco ball was, where the sponges fell and stuff. So it all worked out.
Cool.
Nice. I never had to camp out because, well, I never went to a KISS concert in the 80s or 70s. So, the one concert I went to 2 concerts in the 80s. David Lee Roth was, of course, my first. That's probably why I'm so kind of positive about him opening for KISS. And then Joan Jett in Singapore. And we won the tickets for David Lee Roth off the radio in Binghamton, and I can't remember how we got the ones for Joan Jett in Singapore. And then the next concert would have been Steve Miller Band, which we had comps for. So
awesome.
And none of the other fucking shows I went to, like Rick Derringer and Foghat and all that, even sold tickets. They were in bars. So, no camping out for me. I missed that. Well, so wasn't there Bass outlets out here?
Yeah, there's
Bass tickets, yeah.
There's Bass tickets. You go to like any record store, and you'd buy those tickets.
Because pharmacies used to have ticket masters, at least in Binghamton.
Sometimes.
Stuff like Rite Aids or Kmart's. Well, whatever.
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah. But, all right, there we go. That was a bunch of topics off the board this week. Some randomness. Who knows? There's always a lot of interesting topics on the board, some of which I don't have to delete. We actually get to discuss and not ban people for. All right, there we are. That's it for this week. Daniel, thank you for staying up really late once again. Ken?
Yeah, it's always nice to be here, and it's always nice to have a conversation with you guys. But tomorrow will be kind of tough getting up at work, but it's worth it. Yeah.
All right. So for now, from Daniel, from Ken, Mark, and myself, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.